So a lot of you recommended that I did a recap for The Earth that's currently playing on IQIYI right now, and I started reading the book and realized that it's really, really close to how the show was adapted. And so instead of recapping the book like I usually do, I thought I would just start pointing out the differences that I see. So here is a series of videos where I point out episode by episode which parts of the book differ from the show. Spoiler alert to anyone who hasn't watched the show or read the book or wants to, because we are talking about episode 1 of the show right now and which chapters that correlates to. I thought it would be also cute to share with you the names of the chapter in the book. And the book actually starts with chapter 0, and chapter 0 is called A Rose Nurtured by Earth, which is cute because obviously like Din's name, Salmon, means earth in Thai, and Rose's name is Rose, so yeah, it's like kind of cute. Episode 1 of the show starts exactly how the book starts. And we have Uncle Teep talking to Wasapol about having Wasu marry Rose. And he's like, no, 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 I'm gonna let Rose decide. And Wasapol's trying to be nice, but is clearly really agitated. The only difference that comes up is that instead of calling Din like he does in the show, in the book, Teepacorn actually goes over to Din's house and tells her all of this information and then has her promise and swear that she's going to protect Rose and not abandon her if anything should happen to him. And the reason why Din is the one who finds Uncle Teep is because after he goes to visit her at her farm, she's like, ooh, I have a terrible feeling about the conversation we just had. So I really want to clarify some things with him. And she chases after him like maybe 10 minutes after he leaves. And that's why she discovers him in his accident. Another difference from the book is that in this car accident, Uncle Teep actually has a driver who dies in the accident. And then there's like some other things that are more explained in the book. For example, like the families and whose farms are owned by who. Firstly, I want to apologize for butchering any of these names because I am not a native Thai speaker, but I'm going to try my best. So basically, Wasu and Wasapol are from the Nub Anant tea plantation, and that is owned by the Mahatanakorn family. Rose and Uncle Teepacorn are part of the Amorjinda family, and they own the Chomjan flower farm. Din is part of the Watinwanit family, and they own the Sanrak farm. So these farms are all adjacent to each other, and they've known each other for generations and generations. It's clearly established in the book in the first few pages that the Nubanant tea plantation is very famous for having a bunch of shady illegal businesses on the side, and they're always pulling strings to work above the law. Another tidbit that was mentioned is that Wasu is a womanizer and is constantly breaking girls' hearts and tossing them aside and discarding them like garbage afterwards. Another detail to mention is probably that Rose left Thailand at age 10 to be sent to America with her mom. But then her mom passes away shortly after, and Rose is raised by her Aunt Laura, who owns a flower arrangement shop somewhere in America. They do not specify. Aunt Laura is her mom's older sister and has basically been her second mom, and Rose works at her little flower shop when she has spare time. In the book, they explain that Rose moved to America, and she's always wanted to move back to Thailand, but her dad was always like, no, 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 come back after high school. And then after she graduates high school, she's like, I want to go back to Thailand, and her dad's like, no, 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 come back after university. So she goes to university, and the dad's like, no, 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 come after your master's degree. So then Rose does her master's degree, and at this point, I guess she's like 22. And Rose is like, oh my God, Dad, like, are you actually gonna let me come back to Thailand this year? And her dad is like, yeah, of course you can come back, but like, I need to take care of something first before you get back. And she's like, okay, what is it? And he like doesn't tell her. And Rose is like, I guess it's okay, he didn't tell me, it must be something pretty important. And she's never questioned her dad because I think she still has this really kind of like innocent outlook on life and trusts her dad to like not tell her things in this kind of like innocent childlike way. And all of this is to explain why Rose loves flowers and has a deep love for flowers and the land and her dad, because she has all these memories of growing up around flowers and loving nature, which is probably why she's such a good flower arranger. In the show, we have Rose prick her finger on the thorn of a rose and she starts bleeding, and that's like a bad omen, whereas in the book, she's actually clumsy and she crashes into a table and a framed picture of her dad like falls to the floor, and she cuts her finger on the shattered glass of the frame as she tries to pick it up. And when Aunt Laura goes to get a medical kit to like patch up her cut, that's when she gets the call from Modang that her dad is in the ICU. And one nice bit in the book that I saw was, between the shattered picture frame, the last image of her father smiling beside her, and the devastating news that had just traveled across the world, which one truly shattered her heart more? So the book skips over all the scene of like Rose coming back to Thailand, and the next scene is basically her in Thailand at the hospital talking to the doctor, and the doctor's like, prognosis is not good. Be prepared for anything. She's like, oh my God, how did this happen? She learns about the accident. Mudang tells her what happened. She's like, I don't know what to do. Should I stay here? I want to be the first person he sees when he wakes up. And Mudang's like, listen, you don't know when he's going to wake up. You better go home and rest. You just had a long journey. And she's like, but I really want to find out what happened to him. So maybe I should go to the police station and see what the report says. And then Mudang's like, oh, don't you remember your childhood friends, Wasu and Din? Yeah, like the kids who were from the neighboring farms. And Rose is like, damn, I haven't seen them in fucking ages. I kind of vaguely remember them, but like not really. And Mudang is like, well, they both have like really opposite personalities. And in the book, they mention that Wasu and Wasupol are very feared, and Wasu is known for having a bad temper. And Mudang tells her that Din is like very solitary and prefers to keep to her own business. And Mudang then mentions that Wasupol actually came over to see her dad before his accident, and Rose is like, oh, did you hear about what they were talking about? And Mudang's like, of course not, I wouldn't eavesdrop, which is different in the show, because in the show, Mudang did eavesdrop, and she tells Rose that he was over there to discuss Rose and Wasu potentially getting married, because they have this like whole agreement or something. So in the book, actually, Rose and Mudang drive back to their farm, and they see that a truck is following them, and the truck belongs to Wasu. The truck swerves in front of them and cuts them off, and so they have to kind of like emergency brake. And Mudang is like, oh my God, that's Wasu. Why the hell is he driving like that? And Rose is like, oh, that's Wasu? And he like rolls down his window. He's like, hey, Rose, like come talk to me, would ya? And Mudang's like, oh my God, like Miss Rose, like I don't think you should get out of the car like and talk to him. It's like kind of weird. Why is he doing this? And Rose is like, don't worry about it. If I don't step out, like I don't think he's gonna stop following us. So I guess they're having this conversation in the side of the road instead, whereas in the show, they have this conversation in the hospital, where Wasu's like playing nice and being all sweet. Whereas in the book, he's like pretty outrageous, and he literally puts their life in danger and cuts off their car in order to force Rose to talk to him, I guess like on the side of the road. So they're on the side of the road, and Rose is like, what do you want? And Wasu's like, oh, I just wanted to welcome you home. Like, you know, we're basically family, right? And Rose is like, well, then why are you following me? And Wasu's like, I just wanted to welcome you home. And he's like grabbing her arm, and she's like, oh my God, let go of me. And Wasu's like, why? When we were kids, we used to play around like this all the time. Don't you remember? You even rode on my back once. Or did you forget everything? And Rose is like, the past is the past, and the present is the present, and I feel like really uncomfortable with what you're doing and displeased. So can you like please stop? And Wasu's like, damn, you got so much prettier. You're so pretty and feisty, aren't you? And in her head, Rose is like, damn, I'm definitely not strong enough to get away from him, but I don't know what I should do because I'm like really creeped out by him. And just because we were friends as kids, like doesn't mean I know you anymore. It's been like over 10 years. And then suddenly out of nowhere, another car pulls up and Din steps out. And so Din gets out of the car and grabs Rose's other wrist and pulls Rose aside and shocks everybody. So then like I guess Wasu lets go of her. And he's like, Din, it's always you sticking your nose where you don't belong. And Rose is like, oh, that's Din? And Din's like, you've got it all wrong. I don't usually meddle in things that aren't my business. And then Wasu's like, well, then why are you meddling between me and Rose? And Din is like, well, this is my responsibility. And Wasu's like, what responsibility? Go back to your farm if you don't want any trouble. And Rose is like shook because she's like, oh my God, like who are these people? And oh my God, that's Din? Holy shit, the both of them are so brazen. And at this point, the book then mentions that I guess Wasu not only is like in his car, but he has like other men behind him in cars as well. And at this, I guess Wasu has like pulled out a gun on Din. And Rose is like, holy fuck. But then Din says, come on, Wasu, bring it. If you want to fight, let's fight. And then Wasu's like, fuck, damn it, Din, I'll deal with you later. And he responds this way because then we're told as the readers that Din actually anticipated Wasu being a stupid ass idiot pulling out his gun, and apparently has brought like 10 times the amount of men that Wasu has. So Wasu knows that he's outnumbered. I don't know how this plays out logistically, but this is what the book says. And as Wasu's leaving, Din is like, don't you think that just because Uncle Teep's not here that everything's gonna fall into place for you? And Wasu's like, what are you talking about? And Din's like, because he entrusted Rose to me. And that's the end of chapter 0 in the book. Chapter 1 is called Mahatanakorn, or Watin wanted. So in the book, we also get the same flashback of all the kids playing together and Wasu taking Rose on his back because he's a big enough boy to do so. And Din's like a very like skinny and frail girl who can't do much to help Rose when she's injured like that. And there's this reoccurring theme of like Din being really weak as a kid, whereas Wasu was like a bigger boy. And so she makes it her life's mission to be stronger than him one day. So now Rose and Din are back in the car and she's like observing Din after what's happened. She's like, oh my God, I haven't seen Din in so many years. She's so much taller and bigger and stronger now than I remember. She was so weak and frail when we were kids. She didn't have any hesitation in her face. She's actually like described as someone who's pretty like non-expression. And in the book as well, it's clarified that Din and Rose haven't seen each other for 14 years. One part that's not in the book that is in the show is that when Rose and Wasu are in the car and he brakes too hard and she thumps her head against the ceiling, and later on we have a scene of Din trying to ice pack her bruise or something, and we get like a romantic tension moment. That's not in the book. In the book, there's a small detail where Din repaired this old teddy bear of Rose's when they were kids, and it's like a really cute and tender example of how kind Din is. And you have like a long internal thought process of Rose trying to understand, who does she trust? Who should she trust? Should she trust Din? Did her father actually entrust her care to Din? Like, what is going on? Who can she trust? Mudang's like, Wasu's really hot, but he's also like really temperamental, and who knows when he's gonna start like shooting people, so you should probably trust Din. And she's like, oh my God, Mudang, you're not helpful. The same thing of Rose asking Din who she should trust, and Din is like, listen, you're in a very dangerous and vulnerable position right now because a lot of people are gonna be targeting you because you have power over this large piece of land, and people are gonna want to take advantage of you. And Rose is like, okay, who do you think I should trust then? And Din is like, you should make your own decisions because you are an adult. Which is honestly such a green flag answer. So there's actually an additional scene in the book where Rose goes back to the hospital the next day after all this happens, and she runs into Wasu, who's there waiting with the fruit basket and trying to make nice with her. And she's like, you're obviously like here with like ulterior motives. And he's just trying to pretend to be like super nice, and he's like, oh my God, like I'm so worried, like I've been waiting for you. Rose then decides to be like, who do you think I should trust in this situation? Because I don't know what's going on. Like, I don't know what the truth behind my dad's accident is. And she's like, yeah, Wasu, do you know if my dad has any enemies? And Wasu's like, I don't know, you tell me. And Wasu immediately takes this opportunity to be like, listen, here's who you shouldn't trust. It's Din. And Rose is like, what? And Wasu's like, listen, all right, Din's farm's land is like much smaller than mine, okay? They would stand everything to gain by getting yours. And then he's like, maybe Din has just been like playing your dad this whole time to gain his trust so that she could eventually take over your farm. And Rose is like, that doesn't make any sense because Din doesn't seem like that type of person. I mean, when we were kids, she was like so nice. And Wasu's like, oh my God, people can change, okay? And he's like, think about it. Yesterday, he came over and just claimed that Uncle Teep said that he entrusted your care to her. She knows that she can just say whatever she wants because Uncle Teep's in like a coma now. Who knows? Maybe she's the one who harmed him in the first place. And then Rose is like, that doesn't sound right. And he's like, don't worry, Rose, I'll take care of you. So in the book, we have this like continuous back and forth, and Rose goes through all of this like internal turmoil. Should I trust after this conversation with Wasu? She's like, oh my God, like that turns everything over its head. But then she talks to Mudang, and Mudang's like, I don't know, girl, I don't think you should trust him. And she's like, I don't know. And then when Din comes over and is like, oh, I'm here to make sure that you eat and take care of yourself because I'm sure this is a very stressful time in your life. She's like, okay, cool, that's very sweet of you, but I have to ask you again, like, who should I trust? You or Wasu? Your family or his family? And I think Rose is like giving her an opportunity to be like, what are you gonna say, right? And Din's like, I don't know, I don't have an answer, and you should make your own choices because you're a grown-up and you should just see whose actions speak louder. And Rose is like, okay, well then what happens if I say that I trust the Mahatanakorn family then? And Din is like, well then I respect your decision. And Rose is like, really? And Din is like, yeah, even if you choose that family, I'll protect you in my own way, I promise. And Rose is like, you're gonna tell me that the Mahatanakorn family is bad? You're not gonna warn me that I shouldn't trust them. Like you're not gonna tell me like what kind of person Wasu is or something. You're not gonna like, you know. And then is like, again, actions speak louder than words. I'm not gonna declare anyone's evil without proof, and I'm not gonna claim that I'm better than anyone else. You should decide for yourself based on what you see and what you feel. I have nothing to justify or explain. And Rose is like, oh my god, great, because that makes my decision so much easier. And Din's like, what are you talking about? And Rose is like, well, obviously I'm gonna stay under your protection because I choose what Teen One eat, which is Din's family. The whole scene with Rose being hungry late at night and she looks in the fridge and the fridge is full of things that she likes to eat, that is only in the show. That doesn't happen in the book. And also the childhood flashback where Din and Rose as kids are playing a prince and princess game, but it becomes a princess and princess game, and there's this whole exchange of the girls being like, well, a princess can't marry a princess, and there's all this like gay cute kid tension, I guess, and then it cuts to a scene where Din is looking fondly over like the flowers from that day, which she has pressed into a book. Yeah, that's not in the book. The show also does a much better job of using Mudang to explain to Rose that Uncle Teep and Din have a very close relationship after Din's dad passes away. And her dad has pretty much served as a mentor to Din this entire time. So she really has no reason not to trust Din. Also, obviously, because the show is different and you can show multiple character perspectives, the show gives you a lot more scenes of Wasu and Wasapol scheming and doing shady things. And that is all I have for the differences that happen in the book and the show for episode 1. Stay tuned for episode 2, and I'll see you guys very soon. Also, if you like what I'm doing, you can feel free to leave me a tip on buymeacoffee.com/sarya or at Venmo saryawoo. But honestly, following me and liking my videos and commenting means so much more to me. So thank you so much for listening, and I'll see you guys very soon.